for an annual drop of 1.1%. The government says international volatility was to blame. Although when you compare the numbers with other countries, Stats NZ compares us to, New Zealand is the worst performing economy by some margin. Australia grew 0.6%, the OECD 0.5%. Even Canada, which is currently in the throes of a huge trade dispute with the US, had an economic contraction less than half the size of New Zealand's. When you break down the figures and look at the performance of different sectors, there are a couple of standouts. Agriculture, forestry and fishing is down 0.3%. Mining, though, is down 4.1%. Manufacturing contracted 3.5% and construction was down again 1.8% over the quarter. Only a handful of sectors recorded any growth over the period. So what does it all mean for the government's so-called year of growth? We asked Finance Minister Nicola Willis onto the show today, but she declined. But I spoke with a man who, a decade ago, described New Zealand as the rock star economy. HSBC's chief economist for Australia and New Zealand, Paul Bloxham. And I began by asking him what he makes of the numbers.
Well, they were very weak, and they were weaker than we expected, weaker than the market expected as well, and in that way, somewhat surprising. So you've got some wobbles in a lot of the data around the middle of the year in manufacturing, construction, and that's forced the numbers to be weaker than we'd expected. Well, I think there's a couple of forces. I mean, one of them is that there's a global story going on. So the trade tensions that have played out across the world have had a reverberating effect in lots of manufacturing sectors across the world, and it does seem to be playing some role in New Zealand as well. But as I say, I think the broader story is that the economy was in a malaise. It was quite weak, and that overlaid on top, the global sort of uncertainty overlaid on top, has weakened conditions in that area a bit further yet.
Yeah, obviously, New Zealand is a trade-dependent nation, and obviously this has been a period of significant international volatility. But why are comparable countries doing so much better than us?
Well, I think you're right. It's a question, actually. I mean, I don't think we fully know, because New Zealand shouldn't have that bigger influence from the global story. It's not overly exposed to the US economy and so on. So I think that's that is an outstanding question as to why it's been as weak as it has.
Is fiscal policy a component in this?
Well, fiscal policy, they've been trying to contract fiscal policy, consolidate the budget, get it back on track. But I think at the same time, policymakers have also been delivering a very open approach to trying to promote more investment, more openness to global capital. And so, to me, that's the pathway. You've got to be open for business, looking to try and get the economy to grow, a pro-growth set of policies. And so, yes, there's an element of fiscal policy being a drag, but I think also lots of what's been going on the supply side is stuff that's actually going to be helpful in terms of lifting medium-term growth.